You're listening to Delayed Replay, the podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe for various reasons, but came out on time in our universe, and therefore come out pretty different for some reason. You might think this is improvised, and well, that's on you. I'm Steven Shinder, and welcome to the show. Airing sometimes every other week, sometimes one week and then the next week. It really depends. Just roll with it. Season 7.
Hey everyone, before getting into the Super Mario Galaxy movie discussion, just want to let people know about a couple improv shows that I'm doing this month. So, on April 11th and April 25th, those are both Saturdays, I'll be performing with the team I'm on, Huntington Beach Boys, in this competitive improv team thing called IFL, and this will be at Improv Collective, which is in Costa Mesa in Orange County, California. So if you're in the area, either of those weekends, you can check it out. Go to improvcollective.fun and you can see the details when they're up there. You should be fine getting the tickets in person at 9 p.m. either of those nights. But yeah, keep an eye on the calendar on that site and come see us if you are able to. All right, so thanks for that. And without further delay, enjoy the show. Hello, listeners. Welcome to the podcast Delayed Replay, where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out on time in our universe. Or sometimes, there end up being sequels to those delayed movies, and they are different from what people in that other universe might see. So, introductions are in order. I am joined once again by returning guest. Jesse from the Cinemabies podcast, and he's also been pretty active over on Twitch. So, how's it going, Jesse?
Oh, it's doing good. Thanks for having me back. It was kind of out of the blue. I wasn't expecting to hear from you. So great to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And this episode will be coming out, I think, around the time that Super Mario Galaxy movie comes out in that other universe. But of course, things will happen differently in the version we're recapping. So that should be interesting. It seems like it was only yesterday that it was Mario Day, doesn't it?
It yeah, it's weird. Everything's coming up Mario right now.
Yeah, everything's coming up Mario. Throwback to Millhouse from The Simpsons. Um, so what's your history with Mario? Because people kind of know the character, whether they're casual gamers or diehard gamers, or even if they don't play games. So what's your history with the character and the franchise and whatnot?
Oh God. So the very first video game that I ever played was the original Mario for NES. So my time with the character goes way back. Um, Back then it came with the light gun because there was the Ducks game or whatever that was on the same cartridge, at least that one was. Uh Played all the games up until like GameCube, and then like it was around Sunshine. I was like, yeah, the story's just not for me. It wasn't a big thing. Started playing again on I think it was the Wii whenever they started like remaking the games with higher graphics and stuff, super and having like four players. And then, of course, all the Mario parties, Mario Karts, been playing those. Yeah, I love this character.
Yeah, like these games are very much easy to jump into. Like we've gotten so used to these video game series that have an ongoing narrative, and some of those series can still have a game where you can just jump in, but they'll still reference lore to something that happened before. But the Mario games feel pretty episodic, don't they?
Yeah, you really don't need an exception for like the older games. You had to have like played the first one to be good at the lost levels.
Oh,
But
right.
but besides that, yeah, like you don't need to know the story at all. And I think they even say in like one of their information booklets or something that the way the games work is it's just a group of friends having, they're just playing and like having a different little story. So yeah, it's all episodic.
Yeah, which makes it interesting converting that into films. Like, what do you think of that sort of change where it's like for these animated films, it's still a continuing story and you still have to kind of remember what happened before?
Yeah, it's a little different having to like jump into it and be like, okay, so did I actually do I have to have known the previous one because it's Mario? It's like, yeah, this time you do. It's a little bit weird, but at least the first one was really good, so you're not like feeling forced to go back to watch something just for the sake of this one that looks really cool or something.
Right. Yeah, criticism that I've kept hearing about the first one is that like, because it had so many things that we've seen from the games, like all the characters and stuff, that it felt like it was too fan servicey. And I'm like, how else would you do an accurate Mario movie? Like, is it so bad that they show like the Rainbow Road and stuff like that? Like, I kind of don't get that criticism all that much, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I know, because it's like, okay, so in like Mario Kart and stuff, it's like, well, in universe, where did they get inspiration for Rainbow Road? Because this is just a place they're racing on. It's like, oh, here's this road that's exists or something like already. So of course it's going to be there. And just
Yeah.
like it's like, oh, why are we seeing all these different enemies? Too many callbacks. No, they're fighting. This is a battle. There's supposed to be all these different ones here.
Yeah, for some reason I give it more of a pass than if some sort of Star Wars or even Marvel project tries something like that. Like I can't really quantify why, but it's also like definitely a better direction than like I know it's a guilty pleasure type of movie, but the live action Mario movie from the early 90s, like it's definitely like a 180 in terms of a direction.
I mean, I'll say this: you and I have talked in the past about this movie, the
Yeah.
live action movie, so you already know my views on it. I think I've even mentioned it to your listeners, but I'll say it again. I'm not ashamed. I loved that movie as a kid, and I love it now.
Yeah, I mean it's so weird that movie, but I'm still glad it exists because it's such a wild experience watching it. Um,
Also, that shows you how the callbacks can be done wrong in a Mario movie.
yeah, like
Because the bomb was just like a little wind up toy, which I thought, as a kid, I thought, oh, that's really cool how they're doing that. Because my mind was like, well, they can't animate this and make it look good. So, okay, yeah, I like what they're doing. My only problem with the kid was the dystopian New York, and they just like traveled to that version. I was like, no, the Mushroom Kingdom's supposed to be nice and beautiful, and yeah, Koopa's here, but whatever.
yeah, like that. I guess you could say realistic version of the bomb is kind of like what you would see in some of the earlier Marvel and DC adaptations where they're trying to feel realistic and then if before they were eventually like, actually, you know what, we should just be actually like comics and just go wild with it because like that's more in the spirit of it. But yeah, like the setting for that live action movie felt very grungy. I even kind of wonder if maybe they were riffing off of the Tim Burton Batman movies and the live action Ninja Turtle movies at the time because those kind of had a darker looking setting. And maybe they were trying to do that because it's like, oh, those were successful, so we gotta like try that sort of thing.
I mean, they were all doing it then. Late 80s, early 90s, your popular movies were like the grungy locations and stuff. So it makes sense that they would try. It was the one that shouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah, they like added these weird sci-fi elements. But to that point, there is a little, I guess, callback to like a little reference to the live action movie in the Super Mario Galaxy movie, where we were introduced to Queen Daisy in the previous movie in our universe, but here she mentions a problem, which is that her dad has been turned into like a giant fungus thing, and like it's revealed that she and her family used to literally be daisies, and I somehow her father got devolved. What'd you think of that revelation in this movie?
I've I loved the callback to the live action bit, but it felt like it's a Mario movie. You're trying to make sense of too much stuff. Because at that point, it's towards the end of the movie. It's like, so you're gonna explain that bit of transformation, but you've got like no explanation for any of the stuff we just did. The power-ups just work. We don't
Yeah.
know why. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in that explanation. The other part, I was like, oh yeah, this is a callback. I was like, no, I want to know why the mushrooms make him big, and they gave him the fire flower. Like, why did it let him do that?
Yeah, it's kind of funny with some of these video games and animated movies, people like us like to think and think on some of the reasons for like, well, why does this work? And what if this happens type of thing. And I was thinking about this with the Toy Story movies, how we don't really get an explanation for how the toys are alive or like do they remember their earlier memories like after they were created. We because the movies are fun, we kind of just roll with it and like we're still like curious about those answers, but somehow I don't feel shortchanged not getting those answers with those Toy Story movies, you know?
Yeah, it's like as a kid, I didn't care about those questions as much. And then as I got older, I wanted to know more. But it's like, well, it doesn't detract from the movie any less not knowing. But it's just, I want to know what's behind the curtain.
Right.
I want to see that factory. It's like, what happened in there to make all this happen? And is it at every toy factory?
Yeah, and they really um it really calls into question like, well, how far can you stretch the definition of what is a toy? I mean, you got Forky, so there are all sorts of questions, but yeah, and in this Galaxy movie, we even get a bit of they're trying to give Princess Peach a new storyline where she's questioning where she came from and presumably she's from Earth. And it's like, well, where's her family? And like she sort of wandered into this world and now she doesn't know like who her actual family is. And she hears these stories of Earth from Mario and Luigi. What'd you think of this whole storyline?
I loved that for like I love how it doesn't just like start with like going there, it's like, yeah, we're gonna spend some time, we're not just jumping right back to the action. We'll catch up with the brothers, back in New York. Or I guess it's New York. Did they ever confirm that? I don't remember.
Yeah, like at the end of the previous one, it seemed like they were just staying in the Mushroom Kingdom, but I guess it's pretty easy for them to travel to New York now. Like they kind of gloss over it, but yeah,
Yeah,
they travel between. Yeah.
like I don't know if they were just on vacation. Like where were they on vacation from at this point? They're dual citizenship. But I love
Yeah.
that, we get to see Daisy in that environment, and like they get to talk about like the slight differences and stuff.
Yeah, they get to introduce her to New York style pizza.
Yeah, and like just like, oh yeah, well, this is the plumber shop where we used to work. Next door is the electricians. It's like they built like this whole section of the universe that they didn't need to for this movie, really. With like giving everyone else story. It's like, okay, like cool. When are we going to the Mushroom Kingdom again?
Yeah.
When's that story popping?
Right. Also, I guess they listened to some of the fan feedback because, Mario in the previous movie it was just Chris Pratt voicing him, and you do hear him as Mario in the beginning of this because of contracts and stuff, but there's a point where Mario is like, you know what? I've been disguising my family's accent out of trying to fit in, so I'm just gonna sound how I should sound, and then we switch over to the original Mario voice actor, Charles Martinet. Um, so yeah, definitely a homecoming of sorts, and I really appreciated this change up, honestly.
I loved it as well at that point because I was like, oh, this is great. I thought Charlie Day did pretty decent as Luigi in the first one. So I was like, oh, are they bringing out someone else? Maybe? Are they both about to pull some shenanigans? But no, Charlie stayed as Luigi,
Yeah.
which worked.
Yeah. Like somehow he still fits with that character, and obviously like his romance with Queen Daisy is blossoming, pun intended. So they do like a double date thing, and there's this montage, and they're having fun going to the arcade, and the song Can't Stop Me Now is playing. So uh, like you said, it took them a bit to get back to the Mushroom Kingdom, but I kind of liked this slice of life type of thing before they got back to all that.
Yeah, I loved like it was like, okay, hey, Mario, I'm gonna take her to see the Mushroom Kingdom, you know? And he's, oh, cool, I'll come with you. And like, so that's how like they all get together. They just go for like a day trip. And I loved being able, like, how they did the reveal because I feel like a lot of movies just kind of do like the over sweeping shoulder or zoom in from the sky type thing, for like, and here's our reveal of the world or whatever. And
Yeah.
but I love how they do it differently with like, all right, we've got like they just do like the pipe music. I guess they don't really change it. They just add it to, the over the shoulder. But they add like that pipe transition music and just work it in.
Yeah, like it's part of the score.
Hmm.
And Yoshi, again, voiced by Donald Glover, he got a bit upset seeing that at this, the History Museum in New York that there are these dinosaur fossils. And he's like, man, this is messed up, and like yells at Mario about it as if it's his fault.
It's still taken me to come to terms that Yoshi can talk. I love that it's Donald Glover since, he is talking, but I've never been able to grasp talking Yoshi. He's always just only been able to say what his name, I think, and that's only in like, or maybe I just hear that. That's like only in the Super Smash Brothers games he ever talks. So it's weird hearing him talk.
Yeah, it is kind of a Detective Pikachu situation. It's still taking me um some time to get used to, even though we've like had these movies for it. But yeah, this is an interesting dynamic. I kind of feel like they throw in this whole fossil subplot, Yoshi being mad about all that as a little parallel to this other stuff going on where Bowser's bones are like hidden in the fantasy world, and his followers are trying to reassemble him because apparently his bones were like put in various different locations, not just across a world, but across the galaxy. Um, but yeah, what'd you think of that whole premise?
I loved it because it was like they were setting up a video game storyline for you there. Here's your backstory. Here's what's going on. The bones have been scattered to the seven or however many, mystical lands. Travel to these locations and collect the items and whatnot. And like, I love how it's like, okay, yeah, so video game missions. Cool. Got it. This is the quest that we're going on. And being able to see it animated in the movie was just awesome, because you get way more lore. I loved all the visuals of this scene, all the lights.
Yeah, and we get Princess Rosalina, who's voiced by Brie Larson here. She kind of leads them on this mission through space. So they're all working together, and Toad is also along for the ride. Again, it's still taking me getting used to knowing that's Keegan-Michael Key voicing Toad. But yeah, I really like all these visuals. I know that sometimes, Illumination's animated films can come across feeling like the same, but to be fair, I feel like they really did bring what we see in the video games to life in these movies. It feels so vibrant and colorful. Like I just love how it looks.
Yeah, especially because it's like I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. Because like it's not like they're jumping to hyperspace, but they use like I guess like the same like star portals or whatever. I don't remember which game they're from, but they launch you into the air and like it blasts them off like hyperspace. And I loved it because like in the background as they're like traveling, you can like see flashes of like the different levels. Like they're doing like mini callbacks if you're looking close enough. Just like, oh yeah, I don't know if it was supposed to be we're passing through like this world now on our way here, but it was cool seeing just flashes of old levels.
Yeah, like I remember seeing that chocolate mountain looking thing from the Mario Kart games, which I never knew if it was like literally made of chocolate, but it seemed like it was. And man, like I was really getting a sweet tooth during that moment. Um, but yeah, they're basically trying to fetch all these bones of Bowser. And meanwhile, Bowser Jr., as well as Kamek, who is like, I guess, was Bowser's advisor, and he's voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who's done a lot of voice work. He's Gantu and Lilo and Stitch. He's voiced various DC characters. Like, I thought he was a cool addition to this. If you can't have Bowser the whole time for this. It's cool to be able to have him sort of fill that void during this type of quest.
Yeah, I always forget because he's got a pretty good range. I always forget his characters. Not that I forget that I just forget that he's doing the voices. And so but it was really great seeing Comic step up a little bit. Kamek, Kamek, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, that they pronounce it a few different ways in the movie, and he gets really upset that people get it wrong. It's like a running gag.
I love it. Every time they run into Mario and Luigi, it's like the brothers just bounce off each other with doing like a whole little name bit, always getting the name wrong.
Yeah. And of course, there are also some warriors who are helping out, the brothers and the princesses. But one of these warriors feels like he's not getting enough recognition. Um, and there's even a moment where like he's trying to fight off some of these Koopas, and we get the song The Warrior, which was the theme song for that. Oh gosh, what was the name of that Sonic spin-off show?
Oh God.
I'm like totally blanking on it.
Which
Um,
one?
the one
There's
that
been
was on Paramount Plus, Knuckles, that's what it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so I kind of wondered if it was a reference to that, but yeah, he's like being reckless and almost costing them their lives by like almost like blowing up a bridge and stuff. So they're kind of looking down on this warrior, and he's like, you know what? I'm not getting appreciated enough. From now on, you could call me Wario. What'd you think of this reveal?
I'm really hoping whenever we get if this character comes back, I'm hoping he looks like Wario instead of how he looks now.
Yeah, like he was basically wearing like mushroom armor, but he has like a little bit of a mustache, but hasn't grown the way that we're used to it with the Wario character. But yeah, I was kind of surprised by this, honestly.
Yeah, definitely took me by surprise, like I don't know. It was a good little quip in like the middle of like the intense action. Intense for how Illumination does like their Mario work at least. So it was nice
Yeah,
to have that to like break it up a little bit.
yeah. So again, they're really throwing in like what we know from the games. And again, there are those people who are like, well, why do they have to throw everything into these movies? And it's like, well, I mean, we don't know how many of these movies there are gonna be, so it's like, why not go nuts with it, you know?
Right? It's like the series has been around for almost 40 years, if not already at this point. They got to get in what they can while they can. There's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah. Um, and so there are all these different, I guess there are all these references to levels from like the early Mario games and also from the Galaxy game. So it kind of feels like a montage, and they're going to all these different obstacles to get these Bowser bones. One of these
My
locations. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say my favorite little montage moment of that was the little Koopa that held up a giant like painting, and it was of Bob Battlefield from level one of the N64 game, and just like
Oh yeah.
before, whenever like it just showed like an army of bombs like flooding out of the painting. I was like, okay, that's how you reference it right there.
Yeah. They do make a reference to the tiny bomb when like one of their enemies is like unleashing one and it looks tiny at first, and Mario is like, well, that's not so bad, but then a mushroom gets thrown onto that tiny bomb so it grows huge and it's like an even bigger deal.
Makes you wonder, do you think that was a callback to the live action one as well?
I mean, it's gotta be. Like, I gotta think that because of the internet and all the Mario discussion on the internet, that enough people who see these movies might know about or have probably at least seen a recap of the live action movie on YouTube. So it'll be like, oh, it's the thing from the thing, you know?
Well, so if they're anything like me, and if like they watch a couple of movies and they're like, "Oh, there was a live action attempt 30 years ago." I'm the type of person who I don't care. I've watched Star Wars The Holiday Special a few times. I'm that type of person. Like I'll still go back and I'll watch it. So there's people out there that are watching the movie also because of these movies.
Yeah. Um, Funny enough, I gave my roommate the live action movie on DVD as a gift years ago. And recently I asked if I could borrow the DVD player so I could check if like my DVDs work or if it's just this other device that's the problem that I've been using. And I opened the DVD tray and the Mario
And
movie
it's
is like still in there.
it's one I've been meaning. I need to look for it. I can add it to my collection.
Yeah. Um and let's see. Oh, during this quest, they also find a couple of Bowser's bones on some sort of barbecue. So it's like there are various pieces of like meat with bones in them. So they're trying to like suss out which of these are Bowser's bones, and they make it a whole thing, like this whole obstacle.
I loved that. You see him like pulling out like random like bone shapes. Like it was kind of weird seeing a. I guess it was a toad skeleton, like like one of the toads. It was weird seeing like one of their skeletons, but then you see like skeletons. It's like a Koopa has that many bones, and just like all these different like. How come these like it was really cool just seeing a whole bunch of different ones.
Yeah,
Just the whole like reaching in, pulling one out. That's not it. Throw it aside. Reach in, pull out. That's not it.
yeah. And there at one point they do encounter this like big uh reptile character who I guess has one of Bowser's bones stuck between their teeth, so they have to bring it to a dentist and like retrieve it like out of its teeth.
I love it because it means not every problem is solved through violence. Sometimes you just have to know your enemy, and you can figure non-violent ways to solve your problems.
Yeah. But then after they get the bone out, the reptile still tries eating them, so it's like business as usual.
And sometimes you have to resort to violence.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything the Mario games have taught me is that, if someone is bullying you, just jump on top of them and it'll flatten them.
Yeah, just jump on their head and avoid the hammers that they throw at you.
Yeah. and jump. If you see a giant brick in the air, just hit your head on it. It'll be fine.
Another one of my favorite moments. I'm sorry, but it was shortly after like this whole battle montage, and like they see, well, and it's like they saw the bones. They wanted to get up to him, and Mario's like, "I've got an idea, Yoshi, come here." And Yoshi's like, "What are we doing?" He's like, "You're gonna run and jump, and I'm gonna jump off of you, and I'm gonna get up there." It's like, oh my God, they're doing the meme.
Yeah.
They're doing the Mario sacrificed Yoshi meme. She's like, "What? What are we doing?"
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, this felt very much like when in Captain America Civil War they did the combo move from that one video game where like Hawkeye has Ant-Man on his arrow. So yeah, it definitely had like a similar vibe there. And there was some cheering from the audience in my theater during this part.
Oh, I was one of the ones cheering in mine, especially when Yoshi pulls up and he's got his little wings for the first time. And I don't know if it was just the area around him, but I could have sworn I saw like a tint of blue for a little bit while he was doing that. So it's like they're introducing the powers of the Yoshi.
Yeah.
Pulls up, he's like, I'm going back with Luigi, man. You're mean.
Yeah, and once they think that they have like all the bones, they kind of put them all in a chest, and M Mario and Luigi are like, "All right, it's time for a party at our place." So they're basically doing, a Mario Party type of thing. What'd you think of this whole sequence?
I loved it. You get to see like in the window, if you look closely, there's like board games. And I swear some of them are just titles of games in Mario Party or something like that. And like they're playing like just like all these little it was a great little party. I loved all of it. I need to watch the movie again. I don't remember all these scenes. Like I know they happened.
No, yeah, they have to
But
refill the toilet paper, just like it, I assume, also happens in the game. Um, but of course, you get these party crashers. King Wart, voiced by Luis Guzman, tries to crash the party, and K. Rool as well. And so they basically have to protect the bones again. And arguably, this is even more dangerous because they have the bones all in one place, so it's much easier to assemble them. But yeah, what'd you think of this whole sequence here?
I I love it because you get to have all of our heroes of the movie are already grouped in one place. They're rested, they're chilling, relaxing. And it's like, okay, so these guys are rested up, and you get just like everyone in their action pose, like the, and everyone got to do their quick little one liner.
Yeah, like you got Honey Queen there, voiced by Issa Rae. Because yeah, they went through Honey Queen's world, that meadow with giant beehives and stuff. And they even have Rob in this movie, the robot. He is from the Gateway Galaxy. Here he's voiced by Ed Scudder, who I'm not super familiar with, but it looks like he was in that Invader Zim movie or was an animator on it or something. But yeah, what'd you think of how Rob the robot looked in this movie?
It is interesting because I swear I saw him in the last one in like the background or something, and I wasn't sure. And the design changed a little bit. I guess polished more likely. It was great seeing him. Was not expecting out of all the callbacks they've done, I just wasn't expecting Rob to be an active part of the universe. So now I am starting to wonder. I hate to be one of those guys, but are we getting the Super Smash Brothers universe soon?
Yeah.
And it was Rob that sold it for me.
Yeah, and he's even able to like shoot lasers, which I don't know that much about him. I've only played as him in that Mario Kart DS game, so I didn't know that much about him. But yeah, like he was basically like a Swiss Army knife. He is a tool unto himself that can, really aid the heroes in all of this. Um,
I wonder if they were piggybacking off of Star Wars and being like, well, every group of heroes needs at least one robot.
yeah, like he kind of feels like a mix between R2 and Wally in some ways. Like he's got an interesting personality, but he's also deadly in some ways and very interesting to watch. And another thing that happens is, Donkey Kong is here, he's at the party, and K. Rool uses this potion thing on him that makes him allergic to bananas. So it's like if you know Donkey Kong, he loves bananas, and this is a real dilemma for him.
Yeah, it's also, because K. Rool is always stealing the bananas, so it's like, well, if I can't have them, neither can you.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, the bones get stolen and they also have to do research on how to reverse the allergen and still trying to cure Queen Daisy's father, who's still like a giant fungus thing. Um, and during all this, Mario is sort of, I guess, questioning his place in life. He's like, what am I doing with my life? This all feels like too much. I should have been a doctor or something, like Dr. Mario. And it's like, oh, haha, they threw in the thing there. But yeah, what'd you think of this moment where he's questioning everything? Like, how did that feel with the flow of the movie?
I it I didn't like it at first. I had to sit on it. Like it wasn't until like he did the whole Dr. Mario thing. I was like, oh, okay, I like it. But like it felt kind of out of place because it's like, man, Mario, look what you did last movie. Look what you're doing now. You're doing all this awesome stuff. Come on, man. It's like maybe I could be Dr. Mario. And you get like the thought cloud bubble. And then like he's just like, yeah, no, no, I can't be a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Luigi has to give the motivational speech, once again showing that he really is useful. Even though we think of him as the sidekick, he's kind of the heart in this brothers duo. And I really like how they complement each other as a team. Like they work so well together, which is I think is what people look for in a Mario Brothers story.
Yeah, I love seeing, because everyone jokes about like how the brothers don't get along with like all like the fan videos and stuff. They're always fighting, it seems like. And it's nice to see him like have like the brotherly love.
Yeah. And so we cut to the villains in this gothic looking castle. It's a lot of terror there, all these ghosts and stuff, the booze or whatever. And they're able to reanimate Bowser's skeleton, and so we hear Jack Black's voice again, finally. What'd you think of the musical number he ended up singing here?
I thought it was better than the one he did in the first movie. Like I don't even remember the first one. It wasn't I don't think it was very popular on like the soundtrack.
Yeah.
But this one was definitely a lot better because he had like the reverberance of just like it reminded me of Scar's song in The Lion King, honestly. The Be Prepared, because he was coming back and he was like, okay, now I'm ready to like take control of my army again.
Yeah, he was basically like getting everyone to march around, and you even get like that type of drumming that sounds like drumming on bones. So I thought it was pretty cool. And later on he does sing a cover of Bad to the Bone, which is a classic rock song. They got to throw those in here too, I guess. But yeah, they pretty much all converge, like get into this climactic battle. What'd you think of the location of this battle?
I thought it was great because, they're fighting. Like some of the fights happening like inside the castle, some of it's happening like out on the grounds. And so like I love how we got to like cut to different people in different areas. And I swear the inside of the castle did look like the racetrack, like the castle that you see on N64 for Bowser's Castle. I
Yeah.
swear I swear in the background I saw a womp head in a cage or something. I don't know. So it was great, like seeing that. Outside, I didn't see like anything really cool, or at least nothing that like stood out to me that was like, oh, they're making a callback to something. But I could have missed it. I didn't play all the games, but it was great seeing them all do stuff. And Luigi finds a vacuum and uses that to fight for a little bit. I think like he even sucks up a boo on accident, and he's like trying to be like, oh no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so there's the callback to like Luigi's Mansion in some way. Him with the vacuum was like that was like a real just like a quick little moment, and he like lets the boo out, and he's like, I'm not trying to, he's like, I'm not trying to do that to you.
Yeah, and like Donkey Kong is trying to throw bananas so that there's like banana peels that people can slip on, but it like because he's allergic, it like hurts his hand. He gets like infections and whatnot. So he's like kind of struggling, and Diddy Kong is like trying to like get him to get back up and trying to be like, you don't need bananas, DK. And he's like, you know what? You're right. I can throw other stuff. And so he like finds a water bottle and like hits it in someone's head and just starts throwing like all these other different objects at the enemies.
I loved that moment. One, because throwing a water bottle and doing that much damage is just hilarious.
Yeah.
But two, whenever like he sits there, because he says that moment, he's like, "You're right, I can throw other stuff," and he's staring at Diddy Kong for a second too long, which made me think he was gonna grab Diddy Kong and throw him or something, and like be like, "Wait, how's this supposed to work?" And instead, he just reaches over and grabs a water bottle. I was like, "Okay, that works too," but I was 100% thinking he was throwing Diddy Kong in there.
Yeah, and he somehow ends up he finds some barrels and ends up rolling those as well. And this gives the Mario and company an idea as well, because earlier in the movie they mentioned this device that looks a lot like a Wiimote. And so Peach is like, Mario, use the remote, and like tosses it to him, and out of it comes a bowling ball. So I guess it's like holographic but still solid, and he's just able to like swing it like as he would like roll a bowling ball, and he uses that to knock over Bowser's skeleton. What'd you think of that move there?
I I was confused by it. It took me a minute to realize. I was like, okay, wait, no, that item does exist. So that it was like, okay, this is a method that's been somewhat used before, kind of, sort of, not really, but it was a combination of different things.
Yeah.
It was not. It was weird seeing like it come out of the remote. Like it was a weird animation. It starts out like a glob almost, I guess, and then like it popped down, solidified, and grew. I was like, okay, got solid pretty quick. But again, we're not supposed to judge.
Yeah, and then Donkey Kong, not knowing the rules of bowling, says, "Now that is a banana split," and like nobody has the energy to correct him. They're just like, "Okay, whatever." So after this battle, they're, doing all this sciencey stuff. The princesses are able to heal Donkey Kong from his condition, and they were also able to find stuff at this Gothic castle, these ingredients that were able to help them turn Daisy's father back to normal, so he looks human again. And what'd you think of what they ended up doing with Bowser's bones and Bowser Jr. and these other like I guess you'd call them criminals or whatever.
It's like they were too nice to him, I feel like, because they just like take away a bunch of their stuff and like leave him stranded, you
Mm,
know? But it's like, okay, so but you left him at Bowser's castle, guys. You just left him at home. They're all there. Shouldn't you
yeah.
do something? It's like you just took away their toys. They're just gonna make more, you know.
Yeah.
Which just leaves open a sequel, I guess, or a trequel.
Yeah, like I get that there are people like guarding the perimeter of the castle, keeping them locked in and feeding them and stuff. But it really reminds me of, in the Lord of the Rings, they keep Saruman locked in his tower, and then in the book, later on he gets let out of the tower, and it's like, oh, that was a really bad idea if you know what happens in the Shire after that. It's so frustrating. But yeah, I mean they're not going to kill off these villains for good. They're just too fun to watch. So it's like, it really does. And I mean, even in the Mario games, I don't really know if anyone dies for good. So I feel like it's kind of echoing that ethos, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think every time you beat Bowser, he's just like knocked out because a lot of the times he'll like say his last word and he's always like, "I'll get you next time," and he just
Right.
like leaves.
Yeah. And after all this, Mario, Peach, and company, they go back to New York, do some more exploring, and as they're walking around, they go to this diner or whatever, and they encounter this older couple who like go up to Peach and they show her a picture of, her when she was a baby and look at the resemblance and basically like the family's reunited. What'd you think of this moment?
Oh, kind of came out of left field. I liked it, but there wasn't really a lot of mention about like I know she mentions it in the first one, and she's just like, "Yeah, I live here now," and like never brought up again. And then out of nowhere, it's like, "Oh well, here are your parents, lady," and it was just another story beat. Like we could have waited. Has that been like a overarching plot line?
Yeah, like, these movies are very successful. Mario is so popular, especially in animation. So I kind of don't know why they didn't wait. It's not like an Amazing Spider-Man situation where they tease out the parents' storyline and they're hoping that there will be another movie, but it's like really a risk, a roll of the dice. But yeah, they kind of resolved this like at the end of this one, and there's a sweet montage where she's hanging out with the parents, but then they eventually get the conversation of like, well, where are you gonna live now? Like, we know that you're in charge of the kingdom, but you gotta spend time with your family. And Mario's arguing with them too about like, they're all arguing about what is best for Peach, and Peach is like, I can just go wherever I want. Like, you all don't need to make a big deal about this. So it's kind of a silly argument to end the movie on, honestly.
Yeah, it's like she's an adult, I think. She can make her own decisions. Like it doesn't need to be a whole giant, but it's great. It just having like, okay, so they are pulling away on some banter, just like some back and forth. It's okay, so you guys are cool with everything that just happened. All right, we're back to normal already. All right.
Yeah, but it is kind of nice having them at Central Park at the end of this uh thing, and like they roll the credits, and then we get this mid-credit scene where Wario approaches this guy who's using a drywall sander to sand a drywall, and he's like, I'm trying to form a team to plot my revenge. Are you interested? We could even give you a name. It could have Wall in it if that interests you. And the drywall sander guy is like, huh, well, I do like the name Luigi. Could I be Wall Luigi? It's like, oh my gosh. They're just doing the bare minimum with these origin stories.
Like we just got to get the characters in here at this point. Here's the meeting.
Yeah.
I
Um,
did I did like that Wario had already started to change a little bit. He looks enough like he did but you can tell, he's putting on some weight. He's grown, his face is getting thicker, but he's still what you know him as earlier in the movie.
Yeah, he's in a transitional period, but still getting to what we know from the games. So what are your final thoughts, score out of 10, and do you have measurement for that score for the Super Mario Galaxy movie?
I really enjoyed the movie. If I was to do anything differently in the montage, I would have thrown a flash of like Legend of Zelda in there or something, expand the universe. But they didn't do anything like that, which is fine. Not going to dock them any points for that. That's just my own personal wants and wishes.
Yeah,
Uh,
I kind of wonder if maybe because there's gonna be that Zelda live action movie that maybe they're trying to be, you know, trying to think that through before thinking of doing anything else with it, trying to see how the live action movie does.
that's fair. That's fair. I didn't even think about that. But overall, I mean, I think I think I'm gonna give it 7.5 Yoshi eggs.
Okay. Yeah, so this was still a fun movie, a decent follow-up to the first movie. I do think the explanations for, where did Wario and Waluigi come from, I still kind of raise an eyebrow over how that was handled. And again, the resolution to Peach's story kind of not really coming until the end, even though it's not mentioned too much throughout the middle of the movie. So it's kind of like they mention it at the start, then bring it back at the end without much buildup. But I still had a good time with this movie. I might still prefer the first one. There might be some references that went over my head, and maybe that's why I don't appreciate certain things as much. But I think I'd give this one 8 out of 10 Bowser bones.
Ooh, which bones? Which one are you leaving out? Which piece isn't a part of this rating?
Um, I don't know the two big bones for the arm for each arm, so that's four right there, and the ones for the legs, so that's eight. So I don't know, leaving out the skull or something, I don't know. But yeah, I am curious to see what this could lead to for any other future Nintendo adaptations, if they are in this style and whatnot. But yeah, I definitely applaud the animators once again, if nothing else, like bringing these locations to life with these awesome visuals.
Yeah, like they're keeping it because with all the different degrees and quality of animation, they're keeping it like just cartoony enough to keep it in that world, and they're still like making realism where they can.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I guess I'll do it for this discussion. Thanks for joining me again, Jesse. Where can people find you and what you're involved in?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. It was great to talk about this. So I do have my own podcast, Cinema Maybes. Been having a lot of scheduling lately, so it's been a few months, I think, since an episode's come out. But so we've got that going on over there where we talk about movies and we just change little small things and see how it affects the greater timeline. Um, I'm also over on Twitch, playing a variety of games. I spin a wheel of about 100 games, and whatever game pops up is what I play that day. What I play that day for the most part. Didn't have enough air in my lungs as I thought I did. um, find me over there. What is it? Twitch.tv/Darth Peanut 89. Just sound it out, you'll get it. DARTH, Darth Peanut, PEANUT. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, always a pleasure. All right, and there'll be another topic next time, so stay tuned, listeners, and without further delay, have a good day. All right, so in a bit, My other self will recap what he's been watching since last episode release. He'll also kind of recap something funny that happened April Fool's Day, like he got by something from a year ago, like April Fool's Day of last year. But yeah, he'll talk about non-spoilery things about a couple newer shows or newer seasons. A new show called Rooster starring Steve Carell, and the third season of The Comeback starring Lisa Kudrow. So a couple of sitcom legends there from The Office and Friends. And a couple of reviews of The Bride and Project Hail Mary. And we'll try to keep it non-spoilery again. But now for the plugs before all that, you can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on bombs. Are they better small or gigantic? I don't know. What's your preference when seeing those on screen? You can also follow me at the socials listed in the show notes and go to stevenshinder.com for info on my 2 standalones and stepping stones novels. Any reads and reviews for those would be very much appreciated. And you can also find me on Yes Shift, a podcast that I do with my dad about the prog rock band Yes and some related topics. We did an April Fool's Day video for that, but also did a couple news related episodes this past week. And there's an upcoming Steve Howe birthday episode coming up on the 8th, Steve Howe being the guitarist of the band, and then interview with the keyboardist from Yes tribute band Awaken. So yeah, lots of stuff going on over there. And over at drumtalktvbrilliance.com as well. There's a couple of discount codes being promoted over there for the arcade level and the premium level, so check out the info for that. Again, that's drumtalktvbrilliance.com. Alright, so I think that's it for now, and without further delay, here's my other self. Hey everyone, this is the other Steven, but I guess I'll start by recapping a funny thing that happened on April Fool's Day. So first off, shout out to How Star Wars Is It? Mike and Josiah are the hosts of that, and they were on the season 7 premiere of this podcast talking about Scream 7, our universe's version of it. And on April Fool's Day, they put out an episode titled How Star Trek Is It? And there's alternate universe stuff there. I'm sure there's an alternate universe where that is a true podcast. But yeah, really fun listen, that one. But I also listened to an episode of Repressed Rentals. Charlie and Kelly host that, and their topic was the Prince of Egypt. Passover fell on April Fool's Day evening this year, so I was listening to that episode that night, and April Fool's Day was close to an end, and the episode gave me these reminders of the DreamWorks and Disney/Pixar rivalry, Bugs Life versus Ants. And so that made me want to go on YouTube and look up a video essay about that. Sometimes I put on video essays just to have something on. Sometimes they are interesting, and, it depends on how they're made, who makes them. But also, that reminds me, before I forget, I finally put up another video on my YouTube channel, Steven Shinder Reviews in video form. It's about The Lord of the Rings, Shadow of the Past. I think I titled it Shadow of the Past, and unfortunately, an unfortunately appropriate title, ? Sort of talking about the ideas about it that sound interesting, that upcoming film, which Stephen Colbert will be involved with, but also talking about concerns regarding legacy actors and all that sort of stuff. So check that out. I'll link in the show notes. But yeah, so I found a YouTube video called, I think it was called The Truth About Ants and a Bug's Life. Let me double check that. I'm just doing a search. And it's one of the first videos that pops up if you search ants, a bug's life. Okay, yeah, it's titled The Truth Behind Ants versus Bug's Life. And the thumbnail says they're based on the same book. And so I put on this video right before April Fool's Day was ending. It was almost midnight. And this video talks about these movies being based on an old, like, 1890s book or something called The Rise of Bugman, and it sounded interesting, and I tried searching the book on Google and nothing came up, which I thought was really odd. And so I scrolled through the comments of the video and then looked at the date it was posted, April 1st, 2025. So I got fooled right before April Fool's Day 2026 was ending by this joke from April Fool's Day 2025, and that's just legendary. I'm honestly not mad. So funny. But yeah, I got some stuff I'd like to review on here. I have not seen the Super Mario Galaxy movie, the version that came out here in this universe. I have been hearing things about it maybe having more fan service than the first one did. And when the first one came out, I thought the fan service was fine, given that we don't know how many of these movies there will be, and people already pretty much know the games, and the games aren't super, super complex, and I just had a fun time with that first movie. But this one, I've been hearing really mixed things about it. People have been arguing back and forth, like, well, you're just supposed to have fun, and some people being like, well, you should want kids' movies to be better than this. And I'm at a point where I'm not sure that I really want to go out and see it and get involved in this debate. I was thinking of going out to see a few different movies this week, maybe even have a movie day and see some back to back to back. I was even thinking about seeing this Super Mario Galaxy movie in Spanish, because there's a Spanish screening near me, and that would be a way of getting around the Chris Pratt of it all, not having to hear him as Mario. And maybe a funny thing to do for April Fool's Day, but my scheduling just, I was just too busy with some stuff, and thinking about the various movies that I was thinking of seeing, Undertone, a horror movie that involves podcasting, They Will Kill You, which I've heard that the action in that might be kind of interesting, but I've also heard a friend didn't like it all that much. And what was the other one that I'd heard about? Ready or Not, Here I Come, which I haven't seen the first one of that, but I've heard one friend say they loved it. I've heard another friend say it was just a copy and paste of the first movie, which again, I have not seen the first movie yet. And I even missed Send Help in the theater, and Hoppers I've heard good things about, but at the same time I'm not so sure that I'm really all that hyped with that based on all these things. So it's at the end of the day, just calculating like how much the price of each ticket would cost, I just came down to, you know what, I could probably just wait to see these. Like, I got some stuff going on my end that makes me think, I should just really cut down on how much I spend on like going out to different things. And so I've been making choices to make sure my time is well spent alongside that, because it's like, what if I go out to see one of these movies like the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and I end up being frustrated with the movie, and then it's like, well, I wasted a couple hours going out for this. It's yeah, I don't know. So I'll probably just wait to see some of these things like further down the line. I'm not sure when my next theatrical watch will be at the moment, but we'll see. I did get to see two movies in the theater since the last time an episode of Delayed Replay came out. And funny enough, they're kind of opposites in that The Bride is a movie that I kind of don't need to tell people, yeah, you kind of don't need to see it because people are already avoiding it, have avoided it. And Project Hail Mary, which people, like, I don't need to tell people to go out and see it because people are already, like, all going out to see it regardless. So, kind of opposites in that way. But yeah, The Bride, it was messy. I watched it with Haley and Emily, who've been on the show. We all agreed that it was messy. It was not as bad as we were expecting. But yeah, I would give it a 6 out of 10. It's okay at best, kind of middle of the road. Something that I don't know if it would be a spoiler to say this, but it's something that is shown at the beginning of the movie, so I don't know if it counts as a spoiler, even though I don't remember seeing it in the marketing. So skip ahead like 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this next bit. But The Bride begins with Mary Shelley narrating, seemingly from beyond the grave, and so it it gets confusing. I'm not sure if she possesses Ida, who becomes the bride, or if she's just suggesting what she should do. It's like this really confusing dynamic, and then it made me wonder about the character's agency. And yeah, so throughout the movie, there are these really, it really like jumps from this thing to that thing, and the performances were interesting. Christian Bale as Frank and Jessie Buckley as the bride. It was kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde type of thing. But yeah, it does. I guess he could look into the film as saying stuff about, men are trying to define who women should be, and that could resonate, but I think that the overall execution could have been better, which is unfortunate because I really was looking forward to this film and maybe it possibly being one of the better films of the year. But yeah, I think it really could have used more fine tuning. Now, Project Hail Mary, I listened to the audiobook and it sounded great. The narrator of that weirdly kind of sounds like Tom Hanks in places, but yeah, I'd give the audiobook like at least 8 out of 10. But the movie, I think I would give a 9 out of 10 because I really appreciate the visuals and the music. There is a little bit of that humor that you might find from some of the superhero movies, but I still really enjoyed the dynamics, the relationship that was at the core of this film. So it gets a high rec for me, from me rather, not for me. So yeah, but then you had like this weird thing where the author was on this podcast that I guess it's a pretty bad podcast or show or something, and based on what I've heard, or it's maybe questionable, controversial type stuff, but on that he talked about how he pitched an idea for modern Star Trek and was, I guess, kind of snarky, being like, yeah, they didn't take my idea, and then fans got mad. There was some Star Trek fans who enjoy the modern stuff, and then within a day or two he kind of like issued an apology. I kind of like skimmed some of this stuff. I wasn't really I had a lot of stuff going on my end, so I haven't looked too deeply into this stuff, but yeah, it's kind of a weird couple of days, like these headlines whizzing by. And like I've said, I enjoy modern Star Trek, and so whenever there are people who have criticisms, there are valid criticisms, but there are also like the bad faith ones. So sometimes I kind of have to know like which it is, because otherwise I'm like, I don't know, kind of side eyeing. I'm like, what kind of person are you? Like, is there going to be a bad faith discussion here, or a good convo with some valid points? So I don't know. It's just a thing that happened online that caught some attention. It got a bit of attention there. In terms of other stuff I've been watching, in terms of TV, it was kind of hard for me to get back into some TV shows, TV viewing habits. I've mainly been putting on various movies, but I have checked out the first four episodes of the new show on HBO Max, Rooster, starring Steve Carell. He's teaching at a college, and his daughter is also there, and she just, you know, her husband cheated on her, and there are some surprises and some interesting character dynamics. But yeah, it's a really good show. I recommend checking it out, and it makes for a good double bill with the comeback, the Lisa Kudrow show that had season one in the 2000s and season two in the 2010s, which that second season kind of had elements that felt like would be interesting to be part of a discussion regarding like Me Too related stuff. Like this is pre Me Too, and so I kind of thought that maybe season three could revisit some of those things that were really not okay in the industry and with showrunners and such. But so far, this third season hasn't tackled that. There are two episodes out so far of the third season. It's mainly tackling AI and AI writing in terms of writing TV shows or assisting in writing TV shows, and so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. People's it's kind of a secret among a few of the characters in the show at the moment, so I'm wondering how that'll play out once more people eventually find out within that show. And Lisa Kudrow's character is an actress, and she has like a camera crew following her and stuff, so it's kind of part mockumentary in a way. But yeah, weirdly, one of those episodes, the fourth episode of Rooster, also tackled AI. One of the college students used it to, like AI or ChatGPT or something, to write a story inspired by Steve Carell's character, who is an author. So it's like right in the style of him, and so that kind of touched on the ethics of that. So kind of an interesting back-to-back couple of episodes there, watching Rooster at 7 and then the comeback at 7:30 on Sunday nights. I have watched the first episode of Daredevil Born Again Season 2. The ending of the episode definitely got me curious. Apparently 2 more episodes dropped this past week. I haven't seen them yet. I'll probably save those for Sunday. Will I put them right before Rooster and the comeback? I don't know. Maybe it'll be earlier in the day. We'll see. I know Sunday is also Star Trek First Contact Day, so I'll probably be reading some Star Trek stuff. Let's see what else. I guess I'll like scroll through my letterboxd real quick and to mention some notable movies. Like there have been movies of varying qualities I've seen. Like some I thought I'd like more and ended up really not living up, but others have been kind of surprising. So going back to I watched In a Violent Nature 3 weeks ago. It's this did I talk about this on last week's episode? Or not last week, like 3 weeks before this one, but no, I don't think I did. It's kind of it's a slasher movie, but without the music, and so it feels more realistic in a way. But also has a few moments that really feel kind of cartoony with some of those later slashers. But the camera basically follows the slasher killer character around, and so it's a different point of view. It's not first person point of view. I think that would have been kind of claustrophobic, but I was kind of impressed by the cinematography of this one. It's I gave that one like a 7 out of 10. Um, really interesting stuff, but like I said, there are a few of those jarring moments that kind of don't fit with the reality in a way to me, the way it's presented. But maybe they don't go too far as you might think. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting watch worth checking out. I also watched. I'm just scrolling through my Letterboxd. You know, follow my Letterboxd and Goodreads and whatnot. Freeway. That's a '90s movie. Reese Witherspoon, and it's a modern take on the Little Red Riding Hood. It's more mature, more dark, uh, involves crime and whatnot. It's more of a thriller. You could kind of get like a if Silence of the Lambs sort of mixed with a dark comedy satire type of thing. It kind of surprised me. I give that one an 8 out of 10. The sequel with Natasha Lyonne, Freeway 2, was not so good. It felt too dark, and whenever it did try to be have lighthearted moments, they didn't really mesh, and it just felt messy and all over the place. That movie, that one was more of a modern Hansel and Gretel, which on paper sounds like an interesting idea, but the execution just wasn't there. Let's see, what else did I watch? I watched what is this? Oh, How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake. So I gave that one a 5 out of 10. It's pretty eh. It has this weird thing where it looks closer to the characters and backgrounds and visuals and stuff. It looks closer to the animated version than other live action adaptations of some of these animated movies do. But because of that, I often felt like looking at the characters, like, are they 3D animated or what? And it just felt off putting. So if this were the only How to Train Your Dragon movie there ever was, this would have been a good movie, but because it exists as a copy and paste of the first film, like that's the reason it exists, it just feels lazy. So I can't really recommend it in good conscience. I watched this movie about filmmaking called Living in Oblivion. It's from the mid 90s, and it has a bit of a touch of surrealism, and it's pretty good. It's I don't know how much to say. Just go check it out. I give that one a 9 out of 10. What else do I have on here? I don't want to talk about too many of these. I watched so many movies these last few weeks. Um, let's see. Oh, Super Dark Times. Was that had really interesting music to it, and it really kept me guessing. It takes place in the 90s. Involves these teenage boys. One of them is lost in an accident, and it's like, oh, what's gonna happen now, and what's this one of the boys gonna do? Yeah, I'm surprised I never heard of that one. uh, Jennifer's Body, I finally watched for the first time. I give that one a 7 out of 10. It had some interesting stuff to say, but I also wonder if maybe the cult status of it elevates it more than what would I would expect from having seen the movie. I think in some ways it could have been a bit funnier and a bit more scary. Ginger Snaps though really lived up to uh, that. Like it's that one is an 8 out of 10 for me, but the sequel and the prequel they just don't live up to me. The sequel feels too gloomy, and the prequel is basically you get the same actors playing the sisters in that original Ginger Snaps movie. You know, it's a werewolf movie, and they play like their ancestors, or I guess characters of the same name who just so happen to look like them. I guess it just felt like really bizarre. Let's see. I watched April Fool's Day on April Fool's Day. It still didn't hit with me. I just when even if you know the ending, it's hard to be invested in that. Freaky Tales. That one kind of felt like the style wore off on that one. I gave that one a 6 out of 10. Materialists, I gave a 7 out of 10. The first half hour of that, some of the dialogue was kind of tough to get into, but then it picks up after that, and halfway through, there's like the dangers of matchmaking is brought up, so I thought that was an interesting point. But yeah, The Perfect Host with David Hyde Pierce, that he had such a fun performance in that. I gave that one a 7 out of 10. It would have been an 8 if the third act didn't feel so different from the rest of the movie and kind of veered a different direction. But yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. Delayed Replay will be back in 3 weeks with a different topic, another video game movie. I'll just say right here it's Street Fighter. So go to the improv shows I'm involved in. Again, that's the team is Huntington Beach Boys as part of IFL over at Improv Collective in Costa Mesa. They'll be on Saturday, April 11th and Saturday, April 25th. Check out the details over at improvcollective.fun once those details are on the calendar. If you show up in person at 9 p.m. and get the ticket, I think you should be fine. But yeah, go see the improv shows. But without further delay, have a good day.